Good morning and welcome to the Talk at 10 with Integrated Health of Indiana. Today we are going to go over some more labs, and I want to try to impress upon you the idea of the labs and what the labs are actually doing and saying. And we're going to go over a little bit of what the difference is between an optimal lab and what the lab values say is normal. So to start with, let's just discuss for a moment how labs get their how they get their values. So if we're looking at a laboratory, and if anybody has ever looked at laboratories, they give you the result. Then they give you a range. From X to Y. And so my penmanship with this is I'm not an artist. So when you look at this and we start to think about this, when LabCorp, Quest, Diagnostics, Genova, any of these guys do labs, and the ones we use the most are LabCorp, they plot a line. And when they plot the line is everybody that they test. And so when we have, all these tests done, then they start to plot where everybody is at. Got a couple people over here, got a couple people out here. And then they start to look at this. And as they look at this, they say, okay, where do 90% of the dots lie? And so they say this is normal because this is where the most people lie. And then they will give you 2 standard deviations above and 2 standard deviations below. And this is your range. From X to Y. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't go to the hospital regularly. And if I'm not ill, I definitely try to avoid the hospital. And so when we're looking at these things and we're looking at the labs and we're looking at the results, we have to realize that this population right here is the population that's already in the hospital typically. And it's the ones that they can get the blood work from the most. And so this is a normal for an already sick population. And I've discussed this before. I don't want to be normal for a sick population. I want to be what is known as optimal. Good morning, Kathy. So if I'm optimal, I know that these labs, I know that I am doing well. So we have to do a regression actually. So what they're starting to do is we're starting to get blood work from, well, not starting, they've gotten blood work from the Army and the Armed Services. And these people were people that came in that were relatively fit and healthy back in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, all of those. So they have these people coming in now, and they're starting to look at their blood, and now they're starting to figure out what optimal really is. And so if I take a moment and I say, let's just take, for instance, the lab value of ALT. So ALT is a liver enzyme. Back in the 50s, an ALT of less than 20 was good. So your ALT was less than 20. Now, following this model, what has happened is over time, if we look at the people, I've always made this challenge to my patients, go to a photo of Woodstock and look at the people at Woodstock. Just look at the population. If you look at the population of people at Woodstock, I challenge you to find a whole lot of obese, overweight people. You're just not going to find them. And so when you're looking at the photo of Woodstock, now start to think about, look at a photo of any type of music festival now, or just go outside your front door and look around. And you're going to see that the people are a lot heavier and a lot more overweight. This average right here, this average range that they do is moving. So now in the 2000s, the normal, let's jump over here. So now in the 2000s, the normal for an ALT, so this was 1950s, and the phenotype of a person in the 1950s typically was thin. Very few fat people, very few obese people, very few people that even look like me at 6'1" and 230 pounds. I mean, I'm back then I would be an oddity. So when we see this, now ALT, the blood marker value, is anything less than 40. It's doubled. And the general health of the population is worse. And so in medicine, we have tried to control this, but we don't do a good job. And so since we can't do a good job, or we haven't done a good job, we have allowed this to go up. And so you have to take laboratory values with a grain of salt. Lab values are not optimal. So we want optimal. So let's take a look at this patient that I have now. Let me go in here. Right here's where page 1 is. So at this point in time, we have a patient that has come in, and we're looking at the values. We see the LDLP at an 870. We see the LDLC at a 630. We see the HDLs at 59, the triglycerides at 52, total cholesterol at 134. We don't see this a lot. If anything, and this patient has been working on their values. Before they had all kinds of issues, but they didn't have a good lipid profile. And what we're seeing now is this 134, this says between 100 and 199. Optimally, you're not producing your hormones well at this level. And so we have to get the good fats up. We have to get the good fats in. And if somebody is eating good fats and their numbers are still this low, then we have to dig a little deeper. But we want this number optimally 160 or greater. And if the LDLs, LPLs, particle number, particle size, and all of that are in a good range, they're saying that we can go all the way up to about 250 without any issues. And we still have to see our triglycerides in a good number. We still have to see we don't want and this is kind of getting geeky on this stuff, but you don't want your triglycerides. A bad pattern is having your triglycerides at 2x your HDLs. That's a bad pattern. And so we do not want to see triglycerides 2x HDLs. So this person's chance of having cardiovascular issues, at least this way, are pretty low. Morning. So when we look at that, we want to see values at 160 or greater or less than 250. And this person is right at that 134 range. And when we see that, once again, as I was saying, we want to bring that up. And the way that we start to do that is with real butter, not real, but if we go to using ghee, olive oil, avocado. What are some other good sources of fats?
Bacon.
Uncured bacon.
Coconut oil.
Yep, coconut oil. And my favorite, we're going to come back to this in just a minute, because this person's lab is not real bad, but it is out of range. And so we have to start to really work at getting these things up. And we will see the triglycerides, as they are using these things, the triglycerides aren't going to move. The HDLs will change. The LDLs will change. The particle number, the particle size will change. See, this is low. And we don't want low size, because that low size allows these particles to get into the blood vessels and cause atherosclerosis. So you have to know these numbers. And as you can see, these numbers right here, you don't get those on the traditional cholesterol test. On the traditional cholesterol test, you'll get VL, DL, you'll get HDL, you'll get LDL, and you'll get triglycerides. And that's it. And it's in the details. The details matter. Those are the things we want to see. So when we see this with this patient, we still dig a little deeper, because we know that most Americans do not have a good lipid profile. And we also know they don't have a good omega-3 score. And I just had a young female come in with lipids that look like an atherosclerotic 60-year-old smoker, drinker, eats junk food all the time. I was actually stunned at how low this lab was. So we immediately started getting her on fish oils and changing her diet and stuff like that. So when we see this, I mean, here are some beautiful things. The insulin resistance risk is quite low. And what we want to, but what I don't like is, where is my insulin? Where's my fasting insulin on here? Insulin resistance is low, which is good, but we still have a high fasting insulin, and that'll pop up here in a little bit. So that's good. But once again, like I was talking about just a second ago, we know that the LDLs are too small. And so we have to bring those up, and we bring those up through diet, nutrition, exercise, doing the 4 pillars: good sleep, good nutrition, good exercise, good community. When we get in here on the omega check, See this 4.3, and they say a normal is greater than 5.4. This 5.4 is a typical American. Now, I don't know about you, but there's nothing good about being typical, is there? And so when we see that 5.4, we need to raise that level. And this is really simple. You have to use a good fish oil. Now, I say a good fish oil because I have people come in all the time that are on a fish oil, and we do this test, and it's low. Why would that be? Do you know why somebody could come in on fish oil and it still be low?
They're not absorbing it.
Not absorbing, that's true. So they could be not absorbing it.
It's not the right kind of fish oil.
That's more likely it. It's a fish oil that is of poor quality. And you really got to watch that because fish oils can be and go rancid. And if they can go and be rancid, then you're going to be in trouble. So this person needs to be on a real high dose fish oil for several months. Then we need to titrate off, meaning we need to back off of the amount of fish oil. And we need to give a maintenance dose and see where they lie. So those are the things that you got to do. That's where somebody like me comes into play, because you can't just sit here and take high dose fish oil for the rest of your life. You want to get to a maintenance dose or off of it if you can change your diet enough to get in the amount of fish oil that you need to get. And those are omega-3s. They shouldn't say fish oil because you can get this from krill, you can get this from algae, you can get this from fish, you can get this from pastured grass-fed beef, you can get it from wild-caught elk. I mean, there's lots of ways to get this. But they first saw this in fish, and that's why they went with fish oil. Now, when we start to go through here and we look at the next part, this starts to break it down. And this is why fish oil is important. Fish oil can go down two different pathways, or not fish oils, but your oils. You have the omega-3 pathway and the omega-6 pathways. Both are essential fatty acids. One is not better than the other, but you need them both. It's the ratio of 3 to 6. Americans can have, it's not unusual for me to see a 12 to 1 ratio of 6s to 3s. This person, the ratio is a 10 to 1. And so this makes the arachidonic acid pathway more prevalent. And so what makes you go down the omega-6 pathway, which is pro-inflammatory and cause issues? High sugar, high insulin, stress, those types of things. And we want to see this omega-3 come up. And ideally, so for Americans, the normal is around that 5. If you're in Greenland, who has virtually no arterial or no cardiovascular disease, France, those types of places, they're anywhere from 8 to 12. So we want to get this number. We at least want to double that number. And as we double that number, you don't have to just take, you don't have to worry about eliminating omega-6 so much. Yeah, I mean, unless you're eating Big Macs and junk like that. But your body prefers the omega-3 because it is anti-inflammatory. And since it is anti-inflammatory, the more omega-6s you get, walnuts is another good source. The more omega-3s that you get, the more your body will choose the omega-3 pathway and go down and make DHA, DPA, and these are all your good fats. And then EPA. Those fats are the anti-inflammatory fats, and they heal the brain and they heal the nerves, and this one can go either way. So that's where we're at with that. We did an vitamin D, a 25 hydroxy vitamin D, and this person is low. Once again, talking about the lab range, look at the range from X to Y, from 30 to 100. In functional medicine, we are saying 50 to 80. If you get too much, you start to throw stones. If you have too little, your body robs the bones and everybody else of their, robs the bones of its calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and all that stuff. Now, this person is probably not making their hormones correctly. There are lots of things with the profile of fat like this that are not happening in a good way. So the next thing I want to show you is when we're looking at homocysteine, we want less than 9. In insulin, fasting insulin, we want between 3 and 4. So we're seeing lots and lots of little things that just require a little tweaking that allow this to get to where it needs to be. And a lot of this, once again, can totally be done by diet, lifestyle, all of that stuff. And that's what we do. That's what we're here to help with. So this is looking at somebody's labs. We will come back to these sets of labs as this person changes their diet, nutrition. As they change everything, then we get to see how this changes. And I know that taking the fish oil will cause the body to really change those. Kathy said hi. So we know that when this is going on, what will happen is when they're taking a good fish oil in appropriate doses, that'll change over 3 months. And I've seen that happen over and over and over again. So kind of a geeky one, but you get to see the thought process and how we start to work on this. And that's why we carry, that's why I carry vitamins and use the vitamins that I use, so that I know it's almost like using a medication. Because if I go this long at this dose, I can almost guarantee these types of results. And if I don't get those results, I know that there's bigger issues and we got to dig a little deeper. How we doing? So kind of a geeky one. I like these. This is what I like to do. So if there are no questions, kind of a short one today, but that's okay. And we will see you all on the flip side.